Jessica Mandel, all the way from the Windy City, PE, to create one of Cape Town's coolest wellness brands, the Movement Lab. How the heck does someone all the way from PE make it so big in Cape Town?
Thank you. That's a surreal introduction. And 8 years ago, if I had a forward flash to this moment, I wouldn't have believed it. But it's been a long journey. And I think for a lot of people, they can see what we have achieved now and think of it as an overnight success. But it certainly was not that. We started with one room in Sea Point, less than 100 square meters. And now we have over 1,500 square meters of studio space total. And it started just my mom and I, taking very small groups. Not that we wanted them to be small. We had dreams of them being big, but we had zero clients, literally zero clients. And we didn't even have money to paint the walls. We had no brand because we didn't have the money to invest in that. And so it was a very simple white box space. But we had my mom's expertise. She's been a Pilates instructor for 20 years. And
Before it was cool.
Before it was cool, she was ahead of the trend. She understood the market and where it was going. She believed in it. She knew that there was going to be this growth. And she had seen the success in her own practice. It had gotten her through many, many difficult times and many injuries. And I think with that shared sense of passion and purpose, we both work incredibly hard and we love what we do. And so, it is surreal, but very proud to be where we are today.
Okay. This wellness space is just blown up. I read an article yesterday that said it is it is on its way to becoming a $10 trillion industry. I'm just seeing articles all the time about things is longevity, there's Brian Johnson, there's just so much happening in the space and I don't see it slowing down. What you're thinking about all of that?
I couldn't agree more. And so I think the figure is that by 2050, it's a $10 trillion industry. And that's not cash just being, coming out of nowhere. That is cash being diverted from other expenditure. I think we see, even in my generation, people are moving away from partying and late nights and investing in their health, their longevity, and most importantly, movement span. Health span is not everything. It's how fit and healthy and mobile we can stay into our late 80s, 90s, hopefully beyond.
Love that.
So biohacking, I think, is here to stay. Look, there are always going to be fads that come and go. And so I don't think everything will stay with us. But there's certainly a lot of science, a lot of research going into this space. And the more we learn, the more will be invested. And I think that any wellness brand that is following the trends, doing their research, will be able to grow and be really successful in the next 50 years.
Got you. So it's 8 years old. You were born and raised in PE. You've got this incredible influence in your mom. How did Pilates outside of your mom? Because I read somewhere that you weren't that active when you were growing up. You refer to yourself as being quite what is the word?
Sedentary.
Yeah, sorry.
Absolutely.
So how did that evolution happen from then? You refer to yourself as being rebellious even to where you are now running, almost 3 stores across Cape Town.
Yeah, so I grew up looking up to my mom. I wish she was here today. She's teaching an anatomy workshop, but she's always been my idol. She was a single mom and it was very much her and I against the world. And she was always fit and healthy and she just exuded wellness, Her posture is incredible. And I used to cry to her sometimes. And I used to say, just tell me, I know I'm adopted. And she would say, you are absolutely not, And she always railed against my feelings. And she said, you're perfect how you are, don't worry about anything. But I've never found a sport that I loved.
Absolutely.
I was never a runner. I never found anything that resonated with me where I woke up in the morning and thought, I want to move.
Couldn't wait, yeah.
Totally. Whereas I saw that in her. And I was very academic at school. I loved academics. I still do. And so I did find a community in that. I found a sense of fulfillment and a purpose, but I just thought that would be my trajectory. I thought I would become a CA. I studied finance with accounting. And then when I did start university at UCT, it was even more sedentary, and I was finding my posture was taking strain. I was developing kyphosis. I was too flexed, over my laptop all day. And so I thought I would just pick up Pilates as a side hobby, and we had no income. I was on a full scholarship at UCT, so I also had to work at university. I was waitressing, and then I thought I'll also teach Pilates on the side.
Okay.
My mom was teaching courses, so I did one of her courses, and I thought, okay, this will be my part-time job. It was very much, I need to earn money, I need to work, and I need to be productive. It wasn't, I'm going to get fit. So I started teaching very small classes to friends, earning some pocket money, and then I realized how I was feeling after every class. I was feeling better than when I walked in. It was alleviating the stress of the day I had at university. I was improving my posture, my core strength. I was walking into rooms more confident than previously. And I just realized there was something truly powerful about the practice that we were doing. And also, I realized the strength in the community that we were building, these people that would show up week in and week out, how they walked in with the stresses of the day, and then they walked out, and you could just see a weight had been lifted off their shoulders.
That's so awesome.
And I knew that was something I wanted to invest in. It's something I wanted to spend more of my time doing. And so it was more from the purpose and the mental load that was lifted than the physical.
Got
But
you.
that was a great benefit, of course.
But where do you even start? Because now you've got 34,000 followers on Instagram. You've just got this massive brand in Cape Town that everyone absolutely loves. But at some point, there was class number one. And it was in this 100 square meter space. You didn't have the capital to really invest into marketing. This process that you've been on hasn't been overnight. Where do you start?
So I think any entrepreneur will tell you, as you know, there's a certain amount of delusion. We are inherently risk seekers and risk takers, and we back ourselves. Although I say it's surreal to be where we are, there's also a part of me, had you spoken to me when I was in first year university and said, like, if you're going to start this brand, how big can you get it? And I will always dream big. I'll always bet on myself. And my mom is very much the same. She went through a traumatic divorce when I was 6 years old, and she was left with nothing, no education, no financial income, and she upskilled herself. She did her Pilates courses. She started taking on clients. She was working crazy hours, as well as being a very present mom to me. And if I look at the financial risks she took, when she would eventually save up enough money, she would buy one reformer and then two reformers, and then so she could take duets. She never studied finance, never studied accounting, doesn't come from an academic background like I do. And yet she has this inherent understanding of business. She's a hustler and she has grit.
Okay.
And when times are tough, she will dig her heels in and she will work harder than anyone else in the room. And no one, if someone tells her you can't do it, she will prove them wrong. And that's what I've grown up with.
Got you.
I grew up watching that and idolizing that and thinking, if my mom can get out of the situations that she was in, I can do anything as long as I work hard, be good to the people that I'm working with, have integrity in business. And that's still how we run this business to this day.
Was it tough in the beginning? I mean, you talk about a 100 square meter studio, your mom, like in the beginning, where do you even start?
Social media was huge for us.
Okay.
So in the beginning, we have 0 clients. We know no one in Cape Town. We are from Port Elizabeth.
Right.
I was at UCT studying finance with accounting, and I was on the Alan Gray Orbis Foundation scholarship. So they didn't fund us, but they gave us a lot of non-monetary support. They gave us a tax consultant. They gave us someone to help structure the company. And we were getting a lot of feedback from them. So they were pushing us to do things that we never would have even thought about had we started without them. They were pushing us to think about target market, to create business plans, to forecast. most entrepreneurs in the first year of business
Yeah,
don't have the time to do that.
Yeah.
There's no legitimacy in the first year
Yeah.
of a startup.
Yeah.
Maybe, a couple years in, you start to build out those systems and processes.
Yeah.
But as part of my scholarship, they wanted those deliverables, and I had to hand in certain projects every quarter.
Yeah.
And that forced us to get very serious about the business we were running. So I credit a lot of our growth in the first 2 years to the Alan Gray Orbis Foundation. And they were forcing us, one of our deliverables was our website and our Instagram page and basically our social media package. And that's what forced me to create the website. I built it on WordPress. It's still the exact
Same website.
I've just tinkered with it over the years and gotten some more plugins, but I still manage it to this day. And it's still the same Instagram page. It's just got maybe a bit more professional look and feel. And we were online every single day. We showed up. We were posting videos.
Okay.
Lisa's knowledge was above and beyond what any other Pilates studio was offering in South Africa. She's the most qualified instructor on the African continent. She's the lead instructor trainer for Merith, which is a Canadian-based company. She was, before we moved here, traveling the world to teach people courses because that's how far she'd gotten herself.
Oh my goodness.
She'd upskilled herself to that level. And so we were posting educational videos. I'd sit her down and I'd say, tell me about the hip abductors and why they're so important in your day-to-day gait. And no one else was speaking like that in the Pilates space. They were teaching the same classes over and over again. It was repetitive. People would get bored of their practice and fall out of their practice. They weren't putting classes to music, so younger people weren't as engaged in the space. And so I do believe that she disrupted that space and she raised the level of the practice that people expect from a Pilates class, just because of the amount of anatomy and knowledge that she brings to every session and the amount of prep. She's putting in multiple hours of prep just for 1 hour session.
Yes.
So definitely a bit of delusion. And and online social media helped. Instagram was our primary mechanism.
Do you feel like, because I certainly, when I was at school, like I fell into some entrepreneurial things. I don't think I identified as an entrepreneur. Like I think I needed to make pocket money. We were doing some interesting, like we were running in the 80 nightclubs and stupid things. But I don't think like the whole entrepreneurial thing really became cool until sort of like, I don't know, maybe 2010. Do you feel like you identified as someone who was an entrepreneur at that time, or do you think it was your mom's influence? Or
I mean, now I look at myself as a child and I say, absolutely. I had all of those, those hallmark kind of traits. I was selling whatever I could sell. I was drawing pictures and then trying to sell them to my mom's clients for actual cash. Like, how delusional is that? My aunt, I'm no artist to this day. I mean, if I look back at those pictures I was trying to sell, I'm like ashamed that I was charging people money for that. But I always had this hustle. I always saw opportunities where other people saw, maybe a problem. I thought, what is the solution and how can I make money from that? So I love business. I love thinking about solutions to problems. And it's not even about the money. It's about the problem solving. It's about the way that your brain thinks when you're moving through those problems. But no, if you'd asked me at 13, are you entrepreneurial? I would have said, like, what's that?
Yeah, these days I think kids probably like, yep, I'm an entrepreneur,
Totally.
or a YouTube star or whatever it might be.
Yes.
How much of the challenging times that you had shaped you as a human being? So you didn't come from a lot of money. You speak about growing up in PE. That sharpens, I know it did for me, sharpens how you think. I think how much of that was important for who you are today?
I mean, I think it's fundamental. It's a cornerstone of who I am.
Okay.
And there were a lot of things that I went through in my childhood and that I watched my mom go through, not even to do with finances, to do with abuse or really, really difficult times, that I wouldn't wish upon my own kids. I wouldn't want my own kids to go through that. However, now in hindsight, I look back on it and I realize how much it taught me. I realize that it made me a very discerning a very discerning person in other people's character. So I can identify certain traits that maybe wouldn't work with me, wouldn't work in our business.
Okay.
And it's, there are a lot of positive traits that I love about myself that I know came from a very difficult place.
Yeah, so it's not just about business, it's actually about character forming. I feel like, when you experience things growing up, good and bad, it helps shape who you are, and the future generations as well. I often think about that in our own life,
And how you deal with adversity, because
completely.
any business, there are going to be difficulties, there are going to be setbacks, there are going to be
always.
frustrations, and you have to be able to deal with it. How you deal with those times is probably the most important aspect of entrepreneurship.
Completely.
And you can either sink or you can swim.
Yeah.
And those are the traits that allow you to swim, that allow you to not just survive, but thrive in this industry.
So you've got more than just spaces. You've got training, you've got online. I love how your business is quite layered, because obviously running spaces costs money. So I'm interested to understand like your headspace in terms of the migration away from, or not away, but more the inclusion of other aspects or other verticals within your business model, that helped sort of create the consolidated movement lab now, which is not just studios, but quite a bit. Why don't you take us through your headspace and that evolution?
Absolutely. So the Movement Lab is technically now an umbrella company with multiple companies that sit underneath it. And the catalyst for that primarily was COVID. As you said, we're 8 years old, so we were, already existing pre-COVID, and then COVID happened and we had to shut our doors. Overnight, we still had rent to pay, and we had no one coming into the studio.
Okay.
So that made us realize we couldn't rely solely on feet through the door, and we needed to come up with alternate revenue, streams of income.
Yep.
And so retail was huge for us during COVID.
Okay.
We started to sell equipment, and just small equipment, bands, balls, things that people could work out from home with. So we started calling around when we knew lockdown was coming, and we only had about a week's notice.
Hectic.
And we bought up every bit of stock we could find in the country, from Sportsman's Warehouse, from High Tech Therapy. We were buying, and we had very little cash reserves, right? We didn't know how we were going to pay the rent when we didn't have clients coming through the door. And so this is what I mean about delusion and risk-seeking behavior.
Yeah.
We took the cash stores we had. We didn't save it to pay rent for the next month. We invested it in stock and backed ourselves to be able to sell that stock.
Sell the stock, got you.
I started creating WhatsApp groups. We didn't have an online store. Yes, we had a website, but no e-commerce side of it yet. I started building WhatsApp groups with anyone I knew in the Cape Town area. And I was driving with the at-home workout kits that I literally packaged with packaging from the Crazy store, but I made it look as nice and as professional as I could. And everything was in my boot, and I was driving around Cape Town and the surrounds and the Western Cape, literally just delivering these at-home workout kits.
Awesome.
And so we made a bit of profit from that, but still we had to negotiate hard to try and reduce our rent as much as possible. Luckily, we managed to do that. That's what saw us through. And then we realized, okay, we need to go online. So Zoom classes it was, but that's not a great experience, right? So then we realized we want an app for online classes. And that still to this day is a huge part of our business. Every single day, our classes that are happening in studio are getting uploaded to the Movement Lab On Demand, which is our on-demand app. It's got subscribers from all over the world, and people are moving with us online every single day. And when we started, we already had two arms of the business. We had the group classes happening in the studios, and we already had the courses. As I mentioned, Lisa is a lead instructor trainer. The courses she offers are internationally recognized. So from day dot, that was a company, and a very important one at that. But of course, people didn't know us. They didn't know how good Merithyu was. They didn't know of the company in Canada that registers us and what makes us different from other Pilates certifications. So while it was existing, it wasn't big. It wasn't, generating a lot of revenue.
Got you.
Whereas now it is. We've grown that to a fundamental core part of our business.
Incredible.
And I believe that that is a differentiating factor for us, because if you come to our studio, every one of our instructors is internationally qualified. They're experienced. A lot of them are biokineticists and physios. You are seeing the difference in their expertise. So that was that. So we had the education, the classes, the Movement Lab On Demand, our subscription app, and then our retail arm, which started with small props. And then I realized, okay, I can't be selling props from Sportsman's Warehouse.
rebranding them with the movement lab.
Yeah, so we quickly pivoted there, and now we work with our suppliers directly in China
Okay.
and to come up with props that are perfected for our movement lab classes, and we iterate on these. Every single shipment, I've changed something, I've perfected it, I've improved it. We are constantly tinkering with designs, and you can see that, every prop that you buy from the movement lab, we have tested that thousands of times in class. That's why I think we are in such a good position to be producing these things, because we are inherently testing them more than any human at home could test them. If something can withstand our classes, they can withstand whatever you're going to do with them at home. So retail became a big part of our business. We built the online store during COVID. And then recently we launched Move Active, which is our activewear brand.
Awesome.
Which also goes through the same e-commerce store, but that came from a similar thing. We work out multiple times a day. We know how workout clothes should fit. We know what our clients want to wear. We see the colors that they're wearing. And so we knew what styles would work, what styles wouldn't work. We had key frustrations, the front seam in a legging. Why we started creating leggings with the front seam. So we knew that there were certain problems we wanted to solve. And so we saw a gap and we've taken it, and it was a great launch. But it was, in the bigger picture of our business, very small, but one that we hope to grow and scale.
So all of it, because you can just see you've got like a fire in your belly, you're like obsessed with what you do, and there's like these ingredients that you see in successful entrepreneurs that are all the same. They just like live, eat, breathe, sleep what they're doing. And I can see that with you in the movement lab. 2 questions. How do you split the roles and responsibilities between your mom and yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question. Working with family is tricky. There are many pros, but of course there are a few cons as well. In the beginning, there was no definition of our roles. We both did whatever we could. We would help each other out wherever. But the problem with that is there are some things that I'm inherently better at because of maybe my generation or because of my degree. And so I would have domain expertise with some things, let's just say technology. And so I would advise on a certain course of action. And my mom would say, but I'm your mother. So she would always kind of pull that veto card, And so that was tricky. And so it took a long time for us to define our roles. But then as the business starts to legitimize, you realize, and as your team starts to grow, people need to know who to report to for certain things. And so it's very important for the entire ecosystem that people understand who you are, what you do, and when to turn to you versus when to turn to Lisa. The instructors know they can WhatsApp me at any time, day or night, no problem. I'm constantly on my phone. If they were to WhatsApp Lisa, I think she would have like a mental breakdown. For her, WhatsApp is a trigger. She didn't grow up with it. She doesn't like to be on her phone, and it causes anxiety. And so it was really important for us to define those roles. And now she knows that, if I make a decision on something tech-based, that is the decision, and she won't veto it because she's my mom, So she is the expert when it comes to instructor training and quality control with our instructors. So I defer completely to her. And we're very lucky that we are complementary. My strengths and her weaknesses match up perfectly, and vice versa. So when you combine us together, you land up with a really effective leadership team, I believe.
What keeps you up at night?
I am lucky that I'm a pretty good sleeper. But I will say that fixed costs keep me up at night. Optimizing expenses. I'm still at heart an accountant. And so I'm constantly thinking about our P&L and how to bring expenses down. And so literally at night, I think about my cleaning expenses this month versus last month, and why there was that spike this month where I haven't seen that spike in attendance. And so, the small, it's all being detail oriented. The details keep me up. I am so laser focused on every element to my detriment. If you want to scale, if you want to grow, you've got to be able to let go. And that I would say is a weakness of mine. And so it's those small details that I shouldn't be thinking about, that I should be able to let go. You
can't help yourself.
I can't help myself.
Got you. It's also what makes people great, that detail. I know my partner Kim has the same detail, and I think the combination of like your mom, yourself, maybe those personalities gel. We have the same thing with 3 co-founders and an amazing team. And the best teams, I think, have the best of both. But you are also super driven. That balance between that A-type personality and the ability to make decisions. Because this is like the detail and like, I want to make it perfect. But on the other side, you've got this entrepreneurial flair, which is all about growth and about how do you manage that friction?
That is tricky. If you wait for perfection, you'll never launch.
Right.
And if I look back at most of our launches, they're things I cringe at and that I'm embarrassed about. And they're things that I think we launched too early. But I know that had I held back, I just never would have launched, because you can keep iterating,
Yes.
So kind of our approach is throw everything out the plane and build a parachute on your way down.
And you're fine with that?
That's another thing that keeps me up at night. But that's where Lisa is amazing. And she
Okay.
pushes me and she says, we've just got to get this out the door.
Okay.
And, I think starting with no money, still to this day, we don't have any investors and we've never taken on any debt. We are 100% bootstrapped. We didn't have the option to perfect things in the beginning.
Got you.
We walked into that 100 square meter space. It was totally white. It was white box from our landlords. We didn't have a cent to do a thing with that space. Is that how I would have wanted to launch a business?
Yeah,
No.
for sure.
I would have wanted to brand it and have, a graphic designer come up with a cool logo, which we did later do. But on day one, absolutely not. That's not the space I would have wanted to welcome clients into.
Yes.
But we didn't have an option.
Got you.
So I think that forces you. It builds a thick skin. It builds resilience. And it makes you realize that actually your minimum viable product is probably a lot lower down the ladder than you think it is.
Wow. And you've been accepting of that?
I haven't had a choice.
Yeah.
That's the thing. When
Got
you
you.
are resource strapped, it makes you be scrappy.
Got
And
you.
I think that can be a huge asset to an organization. We make do with what we've got. And it makes you think really creatively, because you may not have the budget for these incredible campaigns, for these big, explosive, splashy launches.
Yes.
But I'm a huge fan of guerrilla marketing tactics.
Yeah.
How can you take what you've got and leverage trends, leverage what's going on in the culture, what's happening in your community to facilitate growth that doesn't cost you a lot of money? So being scrappy can get too
for
far.
sure. When I see the Movement Lab, I think just feeling your energy and seeing it online, it just has the most insane potential. And it feels like it's going to be so much bigger than it already is. There's the Gymsharks of the world. There's these massive, massive wellness brands. So like when you think about yourself in that category, are you tempted to think about investor funding? Have you thought about it? Is there a future where that could be possible?
Geez, I've got like goosebumps even with that question. Thank you for even, to be named with those brands is a huge honor. And what I will say is that being a mom and daughter in business, coming from where we've come from, it's a scary thought.
Right.
We, I spoke briefly, and a lot of it is in my story to share.
Yeah.
Maybe one day Lisa can come on and we can, share more. But we came from not having anything as a mom and daughter and being controlled by money, having other people trying to control us. And so when that happens, when you experience financial abuse, you want to build something for yourself.
For yourself.
And you struggle to let go.
Yep.
And so I think if I had to look at why we haven't taken on investment, why we haven't taken on debt, it's because we're so proud that this is ours.
I love it.
We're the only 2 shareholders. We've done this together. But has that stagnated or slowed down our growth? Yes. And we were speaking previously about the projected growth in the wellness industry. And you can only be a part of that growth if you invest in it.
Yes.
And so while this trend is growing, we need to be getting the locations. We need to be opening the studios. And what holds us back is our lack of cash. We are opening our next studio now, but we've known about the studio since early 2024. We've been saving for 2.5 years just to make the space happen.
Yeah.
And so in conversations that I have with mentors, because we are, while we may not have investors, we have incredible mentors who we do lean on and who I am having these conversations with. They're saying, if you don't do it now, other people will come in and capitalize on that growth and you'll be left behind. And so it is absolutely a conversation we're having, 100%. Our third studio will still be just us. But Joburg is growth that we really want to take on. I love Joburg. I think it's got such great energy. We already have a large market there because a lot of our TML on demand, a lot of our online subscribers, they work out every single day with us from Johannesburg.
Awesome.
And a lot of our Move Active orders that shipped out. I know that the area code 2196 was our top selling area code at Santon. And so I know we've got that market there. I want to open. Why can't I open my third studio in Joburg at the same time? We don't have the cash to do it. And so absolutely, that's what we're looking at. That'll be the next phase of growth.
How do you replicate your energy though? So like, how do you take that to Johannesburg? Because this, like, it's just something I think about all the time. We think about it like culture. It's just this like intangible thing that you like with you and your mom, it's like palpable. But then it's about becomes about processes and, defining mission, vision, all these things. When you get there, because I'm sure you're going to get there, how are you thinking about that?
Scaling culture is the most difficult part, especially in a community space. People are coming into your space and you can feel the culture in a space. Small things that keep me up at night, like fresh flowers on the front desk, that is a simple example, but it is so much deeper than that. And it is very difficult. But at the same time, I am 28 years old.
Yes.
And I am extremely dedicated to growing this brand. While Lisa may be decreasing her hours in the business over the next 10 years, I only hope to increase my hours. And I would be fully committed to going and staying in Joburg for 6 months during our fit out period to really finding a manager that fits, that can uphold our brand. And already we have implemented SOPs. We've got onboarding manuals. We've built out those systems so that we are ready for the next phase of growth.
Awesome.
And it's all about finding the right fit. And we are lucky that we are offering the courses of the instructors that we want to hire.
Awesome.
So with every new intake of courses, we get to see the best candidates.
Possible candidates.
And we are hiring the absolute best candidates. And our team, I would want to join every single class on our schedule. Our team is incredibly diverse. They all come from different backgrounds. They offer different energies in their classes. We aren't trying to, fit them into a cookie cutter idea of what we think of the perfect of what we think of as the perfect instructor. They are very different, and yet they are all so incredible. And so we are in a very unique position that we are doing all the training. And so we see these people right from the start. And that enables us to build out very, very good teams.
Oh man, I'm excited for you. I think that growth journey is it's an exciting and challenging and very rewarding time where you 1 minute are crying, the next minute are like elated with joy. And I think 8 years I feel like the next 8 years is actually going to be so much bigger from what I'm seeing and the feeling that I get. I am really excited to understand your future outside of Johannesburg as well. I want to ask something. For me as a male, Pilates is quite intimidating. I've never done a Pilates class personally.
You're going to change that soon.
I've done a yoga class or two, and I am not very successful. But for years, from what I can understand as an outsider, as a male, it was quite dominated, at least in theory, by women, right?
Absolutely.
But it's changing a lot.
And it's interesting, right? Because Pilates was founded by Joseph Pilates. It was founded by a man. He was a prisoner of war. He created it to help people who were recovering from injuries of war. And so the practice inherently is not feminine, but that is the growth that we've seen in the market over the last 50 years. So 100%, it's many people's perceived idea. And in the early days of our business, we certainly played into that. You think about a brand that is primarily pink. Of course, we get a lot of feedback.
Got you.
Do you allow, males in your classes?
Yes.
And the answer is absolutely. Our classes are for everyone. And we have a growing proportion of men in our community, but it's not enough.
Okay. What are the numbers?
How can we currently it's sitting at 28%.
Okay, it's not bad. It's better than I thought.
Yeah, 28%. And it's skewed by our bar classes because our bar classes are pretty much 99% women.
Okay.
But our reformer classes are at about 35%
Awesome.
men. So it's something we want to grow, and it's a problem that we need to tackle as a brand. How can we take a brand identity that we don't want to change? Everyone knows us for the pink and the green.
Yeah.
They know us for our neon signs. We had a foreign person joining a class a couple of weeks ago, and she took a photo of our neon sign of this woman as you walk up the Sea Point stairs, and she posted it on Instagram, and I had to say C translation because it was all written in German, but she said, "Is this a Pilates studio or a strip club?" Because of the pink neon sign.
I was like, you could probably put waitresses on rollerblades and go and deliver things outside.
That's the vibe, and it's such a distinct brand, and so we don't want to take away from that to make it more appealing to men, but we've got to find a way to penetrate that market. Why would you only target 50% of the population? And we have seen such a huge benefit for the men that do join our classes. And my boyfriend is an actuary. He is constantly sitting at a desk for sometimes 12 hours a day. And so to work on his posture, his mobility, it is, he has seen such huge returns.
And I really need to sit up straight.
Yeah, it reminds you to correct your posture. But I truly believe Pilates is for everyone. There is no limit to our market size, our target market size. And we are actively working on penetrating deeper into the market.
Would you always hold corporate stores? I mean, the US, the other day I was looking at some big Pilates franchise brands, and they are just monsters. Now, I realize the US is not South Africa, but it has become this massive franchise space as well. And I hate the word franchise because it sounds so salesy, but it's massive, 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 massive. Are you thinking about that space?
We have looked into it, and we made the decision together that franchise is not for us.
Okay.
There would be other methods of growth that we would look at. We would look at bringing on partners. We want our managers, if we increase beyond the Western Cape, to have a share in the business. If it's not an equity share, definitely a profit share.
Got you.
We want them to have that incentive.
Okay.
But franchise for us, we just looked at case studies within South Africa and realized that for our business, it's not the right fit. But I understand that there's huge potential there. And there's a right way to do it, with anything. But you also have to understand your brand and the right method of growth for you.
Yeah, for sure. I like an incentive like that partnership, like profit sharing basis makes sense. Companies like SoulCycle and many others, I've seen sort of ebbs and flows in their performance. How do you set yourself up for longevity when you've got big brands like SoulCycle, again, that have gone up and down, and they almost build these cult followings? And then life happens, and the next season something else is popular. It's happened with a little bit between CrossFit and High Trots.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm trying to understand your thoughts on that and how to protect yourself in that space.
Look, I think diversification of revenue stream helps to protect yourself.
Okay.
Gives you a buffer. But at the heart of it, I think it's your core product offering. Our core product offering is Pilates. And if we look at the example of SoulCycle, it is, I've been to many SoulCycle. I travel every year internationally to do market research, and they've got an incredible community and a very compelling offering. But inherently, it's a very linear form of movement. You are working the same muscles over and over and over again. You're overworking hip flexors and quadriceps, and it's all working in the sagittal plane.
Okay.
So that kind of movement, you cannot only do SoulCycle as your primary form of exercise, because you're not getting a holistic workout. And if you do that form of movement, I believe you would be more likely to incur injuries long term. So I think someone may start and get obsessed with the community, have that cult-like,
Yes.
draw and pull. And I think they may do it obsessively for 1 or 2 years, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
But then I think they fall off.
Yeah.
Because there's only so many different ways you can teach a soul cycle class. And so I think that their ebbs and flows has to do with their core product offering. Whereas in our studio, you will never come to a class and it'll be the same as last week. You will never do the same class twice. And that is because Pilates is inherently three-dimensional. You're working sagittal, coronal, transverse plane. Every muscle is working both mobility and strengthening. You're stretching the muscle and then you're strengthening the muscle. I believe you can do Pilates from a child to all the way into your old age, and the practice just adapts with you.
Awesome.
We invest heavily in our equipment. We are always bringing in new props, developing our own new props, making sure that it is state of the art. And so your body can be moved in new and interesting ways. So you are able to still surprise and delight the customer. And so they keep coming back for more. We've had customers who've been on our subscription since we launched our subscription, and they're still doing new classes to this day. And I think as long as your core product offering is something that people can do for life, I think that holds you in good stead against the roller coaster of the market. Although the market is inherently going to have peaks and troughs, but you've just got to be able to ride it.
Think running clubs are here to stay?
I think I have an unpopular opinion on running, but I think running clubs are amazing. You get to meet people. I just think running shouldn't be your only form of exercise. You got to supplement it with Pilates.
So your community is just this like incredible thing to see online. You touched on Soul Cycles community. There's the Gymshark community. We build brands about community. It's the biggest and most important asset that you have, right? How did you go about building your community?
I think in order to build your community, you've got to be very focused on what the key attributes of your brand are. And then you've got to be uncompromising on those attributes. And so we knew the quality of our instruction was at the heart of our studio, but then also how we treat our staff. Our staff are the best paid instructors on the African continent, sometimes higher paid than New York and London studios.
Got you.
And that's because they've trained for longer. They've invested a huge amount of money in their certificates. And that is how we treat everyone on our team is extremely important to us. And I think clients walk into the space and they can see that. We don't have churn of staff and of team because we've created an environment where instructors want to work. And that is so important to us. So I think you've got to think about what you want to cultivate in that community. And then you've got to not compromise on that. And it's difficult because as you grow, it's very easy to forget those fundamental core values. And it's very easy for them to become diluted. And so it's important to have ways that you can continue to instill and imbue those values as you grow bigger. But it is challenging, and it's something we're constantly thinking about
All the time.
because we never want to lose those core values. They're so important to us.
Anything you would have done differently in 8 years?
That's such a great question. And if I think too hard on it, there's so much I would have done differently. You will always have regrets. But I'm such a firm believer that everything you do got you to where you are today. I do think seeing this huge propulsion of growth in the industry, I wish that we had been more prepared to grow sooner and faster. However, the fact that we've done it slower and more sustainably means that we have cultivated those values and we're more ready for the growth that is to come.
Got you.
And so I have no doubt we would have fixed the issues as they arose, but it's nice to feel prepared and equipped for the next season.
So we're about to go into 2026. Let's fast forward to November of 2035. What does the Movement Lab look like to you in South Africa and the rest of the world?
Wow. I am a big dreamer, so I'm going to throw things out there. But at the heart of
Remember,
it,
someone's going to look at this video in 10 years' time.
absolutely, you can
So
hold
don't
me
hold
to
back.
it. You can clip this video. So at the heart of it, I hope it is still my mom and I working together every day and loving what we do.
Awesome.
Because if you break it all down and, cut to the core of it, that is what this is.
Yeah.
I hope that our physical locations have grown, certainly to Joburg, Durban, Port Elizabeth. We have to go back where we came from. We still get so many requests from people, and I would love to have done that. But at the end of the day, no matter how the growth happens, I want us to be the number one wellness brand in South Africa. I want us to be at the forefront of wellness, making people move better, feel better, and move together, give them a sense of community and belonging.
Love it, man. That's an incredible goals, and I can feel the energy. Jess, I have no doubt you're going to be so successful. It's been really incredible having you on our show today. I'm excited about your new store coming in Bree Street, hopefully next year sometime, and your many stores in PE, Durbs, you forgot to say, London, New York, and the rest. But
my dreams.
I'll ask you that question again on the next podcast. We're excited for you, and thank you for being a South African inspiration. You're not just a cool brand, you're also a South African brand, which I love. We've had so many strong founders, female founders, strong women on our podcast, and we celebrate you guys. And we're excited for your future. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me and for creating a space for South African founders. I think we often listen to international podcasts and draw so much inspiration, and they're great. But it's wonderful to have a localized voice, and you guys are championing that.
Thank you.
So I think you guys are doing amazing work. Thank you.
Thank you.